Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are back to Virtue's Last Reward. So we made it to a new area, a laboratory this time, so we can just kind of look, let's see, at everything. Something on the tray, an empty capsule. This laboratory looks a lot like the cloning lab that we know Dio was made in. Looks like a ball. There isn't anything in it. You think we're supposed to stick this metal part into something? Yep. Kind of looks like a Pokeball slash capsule. Got another one of those. We've also got some seeds, so this almost seems like it's going to be a botanical garden type thing. Where we use the lab to potentially grow more plants to potentially feed ourselves once the pantry runs out of food. Which does explain how this facility might be able to keep people alive for a lot longer than just 1 year. There's some paper inside. Let me see that. It says steps for dissecting a frog. Ooh, well that's going to be a little gory for a Japanese game. Binder. Looks like it's 2 pieces of paper in here. Yeah, let's see here. We're with Dio and Clover. Hydroponics Research 1 and 2. So we've collected a couple of things that we'll see if we actually use that. Yeah, we're over here. Some more seed. It's a black tablet. There's nothing going on here. A microscope. I tried looking at the eyepiece, but it's pitch black in there. Well, there's 4 holes on top of it. Maybe we need to stick something in them. So apparently we're going to connect a... it seems like we're going to connect 4 capsules to grow something and combine. Let's see, a binder again. Some paper in it. It says DNA extraction instructions. So apparently we're going to extract DNA from something. The thing on top looks like some sort of industrial strength lid. If you open it, it looks like a blender or something. I don't think it's used for cooking though. Maybe it's for scientific experimentation. We're in a lab. You could probably pulverize just about anything you want with something this heavy duty. Alright, more things. We've got a whole puzzle here that we don't know what to really do with. This is the door we came through. Well, those huge water tanks, nothing swimming in them. They're not fish tanks. So you can't even go further in that direction. Interesting. It is weird that sometimes you can go full circle and sometimes you totally can't. And there's just more machines back here in the background that don't seem to matter. There's some more seed. Bunch of specimen jars from the looks of it. Let's see. Some beakers. Empty beakers. Yeah, we have some roots. I'll just click on everything that even seems like it might be useful. There is some saline solution. Yeah, we have a frog. So it seems like we may very well dissect a frog. Some more seed. This must be some kind of waste tank. Looks like a thigh tank. She's making a joke. Are you for real? So if we need to dump something out, that's there. Here we have a couple of interesting things in the sense that we have another scalpel slash knife, and we have the lion eating the sun. Pretty fancy tray. Is that a cat playing with a ball of yarn? Are you even looking at it? It's a lion. How are you not kitten that? What? Sorry. It's a sort of tick I picked up when I was a kid. Whenever I talk about cats, I kind of, well, you heard. That's pretty weird. Interesting. Was that supposed to be a pun joke that was being localized, or uh, or yeah, I don't get why Sigma would be making a joke like that. And we have the door, and we don't really need to do anything for the door at the moment. Is there anything on the ground to see? Probably not, considering how it pulls everything up. Okay. So, let's look at some of these archives. Let's see. Place plant materials in the blender and activate blender. Once the material has been thoroughly broken down, add in solution of saline water. Liquid will be filtered down into a beaker. Once that's done, pour the ethanol into the beaker. DNA will be collected at the bottom of the beaker. Use an empty capsule to collect it. Do we have ethanol? Scalper. Not scalpel. Sorry, it's a scalpel. We have a cylinder full of seed. The round and don't have any markings. Look, it's a Lord Hoppington. Don't give it a name. It looks like he's dead. Yeah, he's probably been preserved. I think the liquid inside is ethanol. How do you know? The smell. Really? Yeah, it smells like disinfectant, right? And besides, scientists preserve stuff in ethanol all the time. Saline sip. This is saline solution. What the hell, Clover? What if it had been poison or something? Hee, you worry too much. I just pretended to drink it. Then how do you know it's saline solution? It says so on the underside of the lid, silly. Really? I guess underside of the lid. What the hell is this? A dead spider? Maybe it's a fake beard. Have you ever seen a person with a beard like this? Yeah, my grandpa had one. It looks like a root. It's probably some kind of preserved specimen. I don't know if there's more to that story. So they're full seeds, they're round and striped. Full seeds, they're thin and have stripes. They're round. One half is colored, the other isn't. Supposed to combine these two? No. Alright, so I guess we have enough here to extract the DNA. Did you already look at the binder we found next to the mixer? I remember something that said DNA extraction instructions. I think those are part of using this mixer for something. Yeah. Okay, we want to put the thing we want to get DNA out of, which honestly, let's just step out of the box for a second and say the only thing you can get DNA out of would be an animal, not a plant. Plants don't have DNA. I'm fairly certain I'm right about that. It's been a while, certainly. But I don't think plants have DNA. I think they have RNA. Or there's definitely something different between plants and animals' genetic makeup. Alright. So we blend that up. And then let's put the frog ethanol in there. What do we need to do next? Is there the DNA extraction instructions? Really? Let's add in the saline water first. Did that wrong. Alright, I'll just pour the saline solution in here. I guess you're at it. There's a funnel above the beaker. Filtered liquid comes out of it eventually. Okay, looking good. Then put in ethanol. What are we supposed to do next? What does the manual say? Well, step number 3 says something like this. The liquid will filter it into the beaker, add ethanol into the liquid. I guess you should pour the ethanol then. Right. Combine this with that. Well, we've lost our ethanol, so... So I guess we have to go and dissect the frog first before we can get the ethanol. Let's look at those instructions. Remove the specimen from its preserving ethanol. Dispose of ethanol by pouring it down the drain in the fume cupboard. Ethanol will be filtered and gathered into liquid waste to the tank beneath the cupboard. Begin dissecting using the provided scalpel. So, over here they want me to do it, I guess. Traders. Either that or here. Wait, hold up, Sigma. Are you planning to take the frog out there? Yeah, so? You should probably pour the liquid in the drain first. Might get dangerous if you don't. Alright, so we pour it in there. Huh? Why did they put a speaker here? That's a drain. What's wrong with you? Oh, I see. You've got the frog there. Planning to take it out, I assume. You should probably pour the ethanol down the drain first. I'm okay. I'll just pour the froggy ethanol in the drain. And set the frog here. And I guess we're just gonna dissect this, and there's one assumes something in there. Sigma, what are you gonna do with that scalpel? Are you gonna cut Lord Hoppington open? Well, I really don't have a choice, do I? But poor Lord Hoppington. What are you freaking out about? It's dead. That's not the point. It's still sad. Yeah, it is kind of sad. Oh, for the love of... This frog is dead. It's an ex-frog. Fine, I'll do it. Hey. Well, I guess that saves me the trouble. So we have Dio using the scalpel instead, huh? Something came out of its stomach. A blue capsule. Alright, so we now have a blue capsule. Sniff, sniff. Lord Hoppington, why? You left us too soon. Shut up. Alright, let's get... This is the tank collection. Liquids, ethanol I poured down the drain should be there. It's a little big, but I have a feeling we should take it. Okay, we now have the ethanol. That wasn't as gory as I thought it was going to potentially be. Clearly, Japanese games don't want gore. So they kept that fairly simplistic. It does go to point out, though, as we are looking at a lot of detailed little 3D models of things, all this stuff I feel like would have been animated better and cheaper if it was just flat 2D imagery. Then, I guess this should do it. So do we follow all the instructions for extracting the DNA? Use an empty capsule to collect it. I'm gonna dip the protrusion into this capsule, into the stuff in the beaker. Awesome, you got it all. So I wonder if these capsules are like vacuum sealed so they suck up content. So we can put one here. And we can put one here. But we are still, I think, one capsule missing. And we don't even know what to do with the other thing. Let's see. Prepare the 5 different hydroponic fluids. Dilute with a ratio 1 part fluid, 10 parts water. Each fluid has a distinct color. Prepare 5 tops of plant seeds, 2 long, 3 round seeds. Alright, so do I even have any water. I mean, I guess saline solution still. Let's look at this. See how this works. There's a large level on the wall. Let's see. That does. You know, these hydroponics researching thing we just found? I think it said something about preparing different hydroponic fluids and how each one has a different color. Do you think we're talking about these? Stuff in these 5 beakers appear to be undiluted hydroponic fluid. Apparently I need to dilute it with water. Okay. And see, it looks like there's a button here, but I guess there isn't. Rectangle hole in the wall. Man, look at all these pipes. I think they run down to the beakers underneath. There's a handle where the pipes meet. If you turn the handle right, the liquid goes to the right. If you turn the handle to the left, liquid goes to the left. So maybe if you put it in the middle, half goes to the left, half goes to the right. So that's what is the liquid then? Probably water. What did the numbers mean? Are they supposed to indicate the amount of water that flows in out of each pipe? There aren't any units, but it looks like 80 somethings of water come out of the center pipe, and then each pipe after the split gets 40. So we're supposed to regulate the flow of water. The handles, so each beaker gets the correct amount. Yeah. How do we get the water to come out in the first place though? I think you probably pull the lever on the right, like this. After turning the correct levers, pull down the levers on the right and pour water into the beakers. Okay, let's give it a shot. And see, in this case, instead of sticking with the 3D imagery that we saw in the prep room, they have brought this straight to just another mini game. And I have to really appreciate the consistency there, because when they made that giant room puzzle, that was just more difficult. 1 part fluid to 10 parts, so we need 30 to go in here, which you do that and you do that, then that should be 30 here, and that would be 10 here. Which you pretty much have to split these, don't you? 40 goes this way, splits to 20, goes that way. That makes 30. And then the last part of this is how do we get to 30? Well, you split it in half, and then there's 20 this way, 20 this way, and so 20 this way gets split to go 10 here, and then this is 40, so that should be everything. A super easy puzzle actually, because all you had to do is put everything in the middle. That should have been way more complicated. We poured the water in the beakers and all the lights are green. Those were lights, not buttons apparently. You did it. Even though we have seen one button in the game like that. Next part of this would be prepare 5 types of plant seeds. 2 long, 3 round. Research has shown that there is a distinctive repeatable relationship of the fluid used to the types of seed. These relationships can be characterized in the following manner. The long seeds failed to germinate in 3 of the fluids. Round seeds in fluid B, yellow, and fluid D failed to germinate. So not yellow and not cyan is the well, yellow and cyan is probably the long seeds, with none of the marked seeds germinated if put in fluid C, green, so green is out completely. Non-marked seeds failed to germinate in fluid A or fluid B. Marked, I suppose, means in this case the ones with stripes are... When the striped seeds were put in the fluid, and the fluid E blue, only one of them failed to germinate. Okay. So we have seeming a lot to do here. Beaker contains a liquid culture. Each seed represents a particular kind of culture. Place each seed in the appropriate beaker. Press the A button to grab a seed and place them on top of another seed to switch them. Press the check button to put the seed, see if you've put them in the correct place. After each seed is in the correct culture, you'll have completed the puzzle. I'm not sure what's going on, but here it goes. Alright. So this feels like a fairly difficult puzzle. The long seeds failed to germinate in 3 of the fluids. That's useless. Let's start at the bottom. When the striped seeds were put in fluid D and fluid B, only one of them failed to germinate. So we need to get away from the letters. Cyan and blue. Cyan and blue. So it's either this one or this one. So we'll just go over and start over on that end. Non-marked seeds failed in red and yellow. So red and yellow are not the non-marked seeds. None of the marked seeds in green. Okay. That's fine. That's kind of redundant information. Round seeds in yellow and cyan failed. So yellow and cyan round seeds. So that... Let's see. Yellow and cyan failed to germinate. Long seeds failed in 3 fluids. I assume these 3. Non-marked was red and yellow. So that would have to be there, wouldn't it? Cyan and blue as far as striped. So we think it's that. Okay. Well, the good news is I think that got everything right anyways on 2 tries. So, like, instead of overthinking that, let's just take the answer because we got 90% of the way and we brute forced the rest. You did it, Sigma. You sown your seeds. Don't say that. Huh? Why not? Just don't. Quite, you two. Look at this. Oh, a red capsule. Alright, so we've now got a red capsule that we didn't bother to pick up while it was showing us the red capsule for no good reason there. So we can put that there. Sigma, come here. What's wrong? I can see something in here. What do you mean, something? Or just look. It's easier than explaining. Yeah, at this point, I think has to be some new prompt because with the exception of this empty capsule, we don't have any other thing to look at. What are we looking at? Where's Dio when you make him disappear? And all the characters disappear. Does he mean in here? What the heck? What the heck is this? Probably a simplified version of DNA sequence. It's adenine, guanine, cytosine, and thymine. Yeah. See, and those are the proteins that I don't think you would see in the RNA of a plant. I think it's RNA. I think we can manipulate it. Yeah. Looks like the puzzle has to do with pairing these bases. Yeah. DNA is made out of 4 bases. Adenine, guanine, cytosine, and thymine. However, you can only bind A to T and G to C. Anything else just won't work. They're called complementary base pairs. You sure know a lot about this stuff. I guess so. Anyways, you should be able to solve the puzzle now. Give it a shot. Reposition each row so that the A is connected to a T and G is connected to a C. Press A button to grab a row and move it with the left stick to match the letters up. Okay. So, alright, that seems like what we're gonna do here. First. So that lines all these up and tells you actually what lines everything up because they actually touch each other if they can connect, which that inherently makes it fairly obvious that this solution is going to be fairly okay. Of course, how far can you scroll? It's not a big loop, so there's only so far you can go. But it could be that this pattern is a long strip, so once you get it all matched up, it works regardless. There's kind of needs to be something here. Oh, I guess it is possibly a long strip. It's just that you only hit so far until you hit the end of the screen. Alright, we're not too far off then. This is the one we can move. So then this needs to be the one that goes like 2 this way. And then 1, 2. And then there. This might very well just be a brute forcible solution in which we can say we need to get it that far and then that far. Yeah, we kind of need to start at the very top here and see what would match as far as any combination that works. Okay. So now if I do that, is there a pattern I can find doing that? Yes, there is, and I didn't even have to really think it through. I could just brute force it. Ah, did it. Good job, Sigma. That was awesome. You want a treat? I'm not hungry. You're turkey. What in the hell? Stuff's screwing off. We don't have time for that. Now get over here and look at this. Huh? There's something on it. Alright, so we've got the first password. Safe password. Perfect. That's just what we need. Yeah, now we can go get in the safe. It's one left hole left. Probably for the fourth capsule in it. Am I supposed to combine that with that? No. That, no. That, no. That's no. If we have red, green, blue, and I assume that's blue and not purple. Something here. What's this thing? Who knows? So they don't know what the machine does. And they pretty much ignore it. Where, oh where, is the next secret thing? Because we didn't find any binders. Let's see, red, green, blue, so either like cyan. So, why is every relationship always about what the guy wants, huh? I've got needs too, you know. I mean, I'm the kind of girl who's totally devoted to her man, but that's a two-way street. What the hell are you talking about? Alright, so we'll just try and put, try seeds in the mixer. Yeah. You think I shouldn't? No, I just mean, I don't think you should put all of them in. You mean all 5 different types of seed? Yeah. Interesting. Why not? So we put all the seeds in, blend it up, and that should give us some other kind of DNA. Alright, done. And then saline. Put the saline in. And now we have yellow. And then put the ethanol in. So we just needed to repeat the whole process. Then wait. Guess that should do it. Then use the capsule. Awesome, you got it all. Now we have a yellow capsule. And that eliminated all of our inventory items. Which I guess I should remind myself next time I'm a little bit confused to see if I have a bunch of leftover inventory items. Look, the screen changed. What's going on? You put in the yellow capsule, right? I think it reacted to that. Why? Don't know. But I was just thinking. Thinking what? Well, that the thing we just put in had plant DNA in it, right? Maybe that caused this. Anyway, let's have a look. So we got the code, huh? It's different now. The shapes are different. I'm surprised it didn't make me solve the puzzle again. Honestly. This is a safe, right? Yep. It's just like the one in the AB room. I saw one in the infirmary too. If we punch in the right password, it'll open up. At least it should. I seriously doubt there is anything else in this laboratory, which is crazy because the cure to the Radical 6 is supposed to be in the laboratory, so it must be in the safe. So we need a moon, a star, and a sun. Alright, so moon, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. For that. Yep, there's the cure. Yes, it opened. You did it. Okay, what have we got here? First is a map, as usual. Feels like it would be very easy after the first timeline to already have had the maps and just the game forget, like remove maps from the safes, just for safety, for saving time, not safety. Because there's literally like 5 sentences here that get repeated every timeline. Let's keep looking. There's a lot of stuff in here. There are moon cards. This is also repeated multiple times, although it does kind of make sense that you shouldn't be able to have these items before the time that you unlock them. They gave us 2 just like the sun cards. I'm a solo, so I'll hang on to 1. Cool. Sure, fine. Next up. So I suppose it is worth pointing out here that Dio probably held on to the scalpel. We never saw him put it down or anything, so Dio could be the killer, certainly, and use the killer to kill Alice, even in timelines where she doesn't find the knife that he used to kill the old lady, which then kind of implies he had more reason to kill Alice other than the fact that she found evidence against him. Next up, we've got a notebook. Anything interesting? I can't read any of this. Are these even letters? What the heck is this? Isn't it a journal? It's got dates and stuff. Maybe, but I can't read any of this. What language is it? Who knows? Maybe it's Brazilian. They speak Portuguese in Brazil. Anyway, what else have we got here? Looks like there's 2 more things. Is that medicine? What's it say on the label? AXELAVIR. Axlever. Axlever? Wait, didn't Luna say something about Axlevar? You're right. This is it. This is Axlevar. It's the cure for Radical 6. Whoa, hold on. Let me see that. Later. We need to get it out of here as quickly as possible. Yeah, we need to get this stuff to Cork. First, we've got to get out of this room. Yeah, but that's easy. You've got it, right? Then we have the key. That should open the exit. Same boring keys. Yeah, for as fancily designed as the locks are, it's kind of surprising that you just have stock 3D models of the keys. Yeah, let's go. Alright, well, not yet. Still want to put in the other password and get to the set. Shows you nothing. So it feels like in a different timeline you might be able to read that. And a lot of these items in the files are just indications of items you have with no information around them. So we need a star star sun. I wouldn't be surprised if this golden file gives us a bunch of talk about cloning or DNA or Radical 6. Huh. It opened. Awesome. The suspense was killing me. Okay, so let's see what this unlocked. Not 16. We'll almost certainly not get 16 till the very end of the game. But we are missing like 1 crew quarters room, which would be 4 of 16, and then that pushes us all the way now to number 10 otherwise, as far as the other secret rooms, secrets. Floor A and Floor B. There's a room where the floors were actually named after a particular Swedish pop rock group from the 70s as in ABBA, but everyone involved in the project insisted that is a vile and hurtful lie. Above and below. Yeah. Let's see, here's the first research thing. When the body is infected with Radical 6, the processing speed of the brain is reduced. We've seen that. If we assume the brain currently operates on a 1-to-1 basis with regards to time, the Radical 6 reduces this to 1 to the square root of 1/6, or approximately 0.408. That means that each second that passes outside the patient feels only like 4.08 seconds inside. Therefore, when 1 second is passed inside, approximately 2.45 seconds, or the square root of 6 seconds, have passed outside. This is why the virus has been termed Radical 6. Interesting. Does it have any other physical symptoms other than decreased brain processing? That also opens up the door that when you laid down, that it could have been a lot longer in which Phi could have run around and killed somebody or done something else while you were asleep in the security room. Those infected by Radical 6 eventually develop a powerful urge to commit suicide. One theory holds that the disparity in time perception causes the brain to be flooded with massive amounts of information. Unable to keep up, it begins to fail. Whatever the cause, the infected invariably attempt to take their own lives, which is arguably the most terrifying aspect of the virus. Research suggests that the target antiviral could kill or at least disable Radical 6, but thus far we've been unable to develop one. It seems our best hope now is to harvest antibodies from somebody with a natural immunity to the virus. So is that why the Nonary game is going on? Is that they're trying to find somebody with a natural immunity to the virus? You're not going to find that with just 9 people, I suspect. Also, it wouldn't be impossible to tie down a lot of people to stop them from killing themselves, but it does become increasingly difficult over time. The bodies of the dead from suicide are piled up along the roads leading in and out of town. I guess all towns. The entire area reeks with the stench of decay, and the sky is filled with a constant buzzing of flies. At times, their swarms are so thick that when one passes, it feels as if a cloud has gone over the sun. Every day I see more crows, and rats are everywhere, feeding on the dead. Ironically, the only healthy-looking creature are the stray cats, who have grown fat on a plentiful rodent diet. The few humans who survived the outbreak have been locked away by the government in underground shelters. Okay, maybe that's where we are. I don't know how many were saved, but I fear only a handful. Oh Lord, please let the future be a bright one. This is an excerpt from the journal of a researcher. Due to space constraints, some sections have been cut out. Interesting. So they're straight up telling you you're not being showed everything in the journal. Jumpy doll. Sounds like someone named a doll Jumpy, but why? Well, this is an odd reference to the first game, because Jumpy was the nickname that June had for the main character you played as in 999 Junpei. So you kind of have to assume that this is all in the same timeline and same world. Like, Clover and Alice would not have been able to escape the events of the second Nonary game and be in this third one if the events of the first game hadn't happened. The secret of Cork's hat. Don't you think it looks kind of weird? There's that huge band that just wraps around the head. Is he hiding a pair of Ferengi ears? Star Trek reference that I imagine most people might get. Or maybe he's just a young Lobot. Lobot. I've heard that name. I can't place it. Well, just between me, he's got missiles in there. The sides of his hat are hiding the pods. like you see on the helicopters or SAM sites, except the missiles are tiny, and when he gets in trouble, both sides of the hat open up and they just fly out at once. Like, psh, just kidding. Actually, just keep snacks in there. Interesting. So, kind of ridiculous explanation for the ridiculous hat that I guess also potentially shows that there isn't some kind of brain scanner in the helmet that was letting him act as Zero Jr. It's kind of hard to assume that Cork is Zero Jr. now that we've seen so many, or Zero Senior, as it were, considering we've seen so many scenarios where he's been kidnapped, missing, or sick. Axivar is an antiviral medication made to counter Radical 6. More specifically, it's an antibody with a natural resistance to the virus. It was found and extracted from an individual in 2038 and then replicated using the IG replicator. Where is this replicator? Because we need to replicate more. An Axivar injection is the only known way to fight off Radical 6 infection. Also, pointing out here, they are constantly either making typos between 2028 and 2038, or they are intentionally sometimes mentioning 2028 and 2038. I don't know. Let's see. New Year's Eve, 2028. See? For that, the total lunar eclipse. So it has been 10 years. Or they are just making a huge mistake. So it's been at least 10 years. It's probably been longer than that. Is there anything more that needs to be done in this laboratory though? It's a poorly designed lab where once again it would have been very nice if you just had free reign and could walk around. Like you would in a normal game, instead of pressing the right bump to spin left and spin right on the track. Lock for the door, right. No, it says lock. You guys ready? Yeah, let's do it. Just get it over with. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. We escaped. That took 47 minutes, and that was longer than I expected it would take. Although I guess good news is we don't ever really have to do any of these puzzles again. I don't think.
Nah, I guess there's a couple of things I want to double check. Well, one of them's not really significant, I guess.
Huh?
First off, this machine.
Yes, what about it?
We didn't even end up using this thing, did we? I was just wondering what it was.
Not sure how I'm supposed to answer that. Look at the side here. There's a name or something. IG replicator. Ah, that's the thing we need.
Replicator makes it sound like it makes copies of stuff.
That's exactly what we need. So it's like a copy machine.
Yeah. Probably copies IG, whatever that is.
Any idea?
Who knows? Ice cream by the gallon?
Of course. This machine must be here so we can just make all the ice cream we want. Are you nuts? You're one idiotic girl, you know that. In other words, an IG. Yeah, I guess maybe they are trying to play Clover off as she's just a dumb blonde in red hair. A ditzy girl, as it were.
Oh, good one.
Hey, this isn't the time for
That
stupid
character
jokes.
personality, though, doesn't really do much to the story, frankly, because so far we haven't seen any timeline where she's done something really dumb just because she was dumb. That more would be in the lines of actions Cork has taken or Dio has taken.
There's a helpless child back there in the infirmary who needs our help.
Well, Dio seems like he actually cares. That's surprising. He was right, of course. I hung my head in shame.
At any rate, as long as we don't know what IG means, we can't do anything with this machine,
that's right.
Makes sense. On to the second issue. Sigma, you found a journal and some sort of vial in the safe, right?
Yeah.
The vial. Could you show it to me again? I
Why?
didn't really get a good look at it before. You guys were in there so close I could barely see it. Was it really Excelavir?
Yeah, definitely. As I spoke, I pulled the vial out of my pocket. See, it's written right here on the label. Excelavir.
You
Hey.
really are an idiot.
Huh?
I guess in this case, the G in IG stands for guy.
What? I don't. The words were barely out of his mouth when he moved. Before I could blink, the vial disappeared from my hand. Hey, what gives?
What are you doing?
He's stealing it, of course. Dio slipped the vial quickly into his coat.
Oh, don't worry. I'll keep it safe. I'll even give it back to you later.
No, not later. Give it back
I
now.
don't think so. If you want it back, you're gonna have to listen to my request.
Request?
Yeah, that's what I said. If you want this back, in the next AB game, you have to choose ally.
Ally? Wait. Is that why you took the medicine? To blackmail me?
Horrible! You're using Cork's life as leverage.
Well, I've got some really good reasons to do so. I'll be happy to give it back if you just do what I say.
I didn't realize until they started to hurt that I'd curled my hands into fists. Dio would only give me an opening.
I wouldn't try and take it back by force if I were you. You make any sudden moves and I'll smash it.
He patted his pocket gently.
Oh, and one more thing. Don't tell those other idiots that you found some Excelavir in here. I hear one word about it, and the next thing you hear will be little bits of glass shattering on the floor.
Damn it.
That's not fair.
This game isn't about compassion. It's not about being clever.
So we're gonna get blackmailed.
How well you can manipulate people to your advantage. How unfair you can be. So, what are you gonna do? Ready to promise me you'll pick ally?
Sure, promise. Yeah, fine. Dot 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 dot. A whole bunch of dots.
Oh, I knew you'd say it eventually. I'm glad you understand how this works. But don't think about trying anything funny. Break your promise and, well, you know what happens.
This might be a timeline where we could betray and kill him, but I don't think that's gonna really happen in this scenario. We probably need to find a scenario where we could bring Dio down to zero very quickly. With one last self-satisfied chuckle, Dio strutted out of the room.
Are you really going to do what he says?
Yeah.
Sigma, you've only got one BP right now. If we choose ally and he chooses betray,
I know. I'll drop to -1 and that means I'll get
but that means-
penalized. Look, it's not like I want to, alright? If we don't do as he says, then he'll destroy the medicine. If he does that, then Cork will.
so
Cork
you're
will.
going to die to save his life?
And this feels like a scenario where if we somehow did know what IG is, because we had seen all the endings and we started having memories of other timelines, we might be able to tell him, oh, this machine replicates the medicine, therefore we can make multiple cures. That probably wouldn't change Dio's attitude or actions any, but it might give us a way to make a copy secretly and Dio not know about it.
That's...
Hmm.
Why would you do that?
In all honesty, I was terrified. My choice was far from a foregone collusion. ... Well, we should get back to the upper floor. Everybody else is probably finished already. I bet they're waiting for us. I didn't wait for Clover's response. So where are we on the flow? Like, every time I want to check the flow is right when they go to a transition scene also, because that's the natural pause in the story, and that's the one time you can't bring up the menu and see the flow. It's interesting that there's a curved line on the map there. Not sure what that curved line is supposed to indicate. Feels like somebody just drew a curved line for no reason. Where all the other hallways are straight lines. We should look at the map actually and see if we see any other curved lines on either floor. Still incredibly slow transition scenes for no reason, when you could have easily just faded to black and then faded back to the warehouse.
An Ambidex gate has been opened.
And I assume that was Dio that just opened it. So, let's see, where are we on the flow? Yeah, we're about to decide either ally or betray again. And then we'll have to rewind back to the green door. And if we go to the archive, let's see, map of Flore. Just quickly look here. It's a shame you can't zoom in or in any way look around. Also, the background for the map of Flore kind of doesn't make any real sense why it's there. Yeah, there's no curved lines on floor A on that map. And then looking on floor B, there's one big room in the middle right that has a curved wall. So there's a curved line there. And is there any other curves that we see besides, instead of straight lines? There's in the middle left, close to the middle left, there's a big room with the curved wall there. That very well may have been the laboratory we were just in. And when we look at the map here, we see the big arrow version of it. But in the middle top of the map, there is this curved line. And now that I'm looking at it again, it seems to me like the curved line is an indicator of a circle that is some kind of like subfloor area, like a reactor or something. Because then there's an entire circle inside the bits of a circle I can see. And none of that seems to really connect via door. And I guess for the most part, that's the only area we've seen on the map that shows something that you can't actually access. That's weird. Is there another place? No, there's just giant sections all throughout the map on floor A that are just marked as either, yeah, this is a hallway, but we're not going to tell you anything else, or this is a whole bunch of other areas. You can kind of see in the top center there that there's obviously room for another whole room.
45 minutes.
Let's continue with the story.
Ambidex game polling closes.
In the first game, there definitely were some places on the 4th or 5th floor that once you finally got to the 4th or 5th floor in the first game, that you knew there was a secret area.
I went ahead and cracked it open a bit early.
Dio. In one of his hands was a moon key. He had twirled it around like a veteran gambler, grinning, and slid it back into his pocket.
You don't mind, right? I figured you and Clover would get up here right away. Besides, I thought it'd be best to get this done soon before you lose your nerve. I don't know about you. I'm really looking forward to the next round.
It would be really easy to go into the AB rooms and lock yourself in there and not really communicate with anybody else. Because it does seem like you could like just increase your safety by minutes if not just by seconds, by starting an AB game, going in immediately, pressing the start button, and locking yourself in that room for 45 minutes. Arg. I glance around the warehouse. Alice is still alive, and Kay is... We've never seen Kay actually die except for in that one timeline. Vi. Clover. Was Tomoji and the rest of them.
We carried Cork to one of the beds. Tenmyoji and Luna are looking after it.
So Cork in this timeline is still asleep from the Soperwell B, but still infected. I see.
How's he doing?
Well, it's hard to say. He seems to be sleeping soundly, but beyond that, there's really no way to know.
No change then.
Right.
So they didn't find anything that could help him. A laboratory.
So,
Did it look like the kind of place where they'd be researching viruses and DNA and those kinds of things?
Yeah, it did.
Was there any of that Excelivir?
Don't tell those other idiots that you found some Excelivir in here. I hear one word about it, and the next thing you hear will be little bits of glass shattering on the floor.
My eyes flicked to Dio for a moment. No, nothing. Besides me, Clover bit her lip.
I see.
So, how'd it go with you? Find anything interesting? Vi only shook her head. With a unison of movement, they almost looked choreographed. Alice and Kay shrugged. What room were they in?
Where does that leave us? We've still got about 40 minutes left until voting ends.
What are you gonna do?
I'm a little curious about that lab you found. I thought I might go take a peek at it.
I'll show you the way then.
So Clover and Alice are going to look at the lab.
I think I'll go have a look at the room Alice, Kay, and Tenmyoji found. Never know. Maybe you missed something. Perhaps there's some Excelivir hidden somewhere in there.
God. What a bastard.
I shall take you there.
What about you two? Where are you going?
Well, I think I'll start by heading over to the infirmary to see how Cork's doing.
And I will too.
Glad that's settled.
She nodded to Clover and they disappeared through the magenta door. Dio and Kay followed a few footsteps behind. Yeah, at this point, this feels like we're just wasting time in this storyline. Okay then. Guess we should be going
Hold
too.
on.
Unless Fi has a memory moment where she actually remembers something or questions you better. It seems like we're just going to kind of accomplish nothing before we get back to the AB voting.
Show me that journal first.
Hmm.
Dio told me about it. He wouldn't tell me anything about the lab except that you found a journal with, his words, some sort of bullshit language. He said you had it, so I was hoping I could take a look.
Okay, sure. So you dug the journal out of the pocket and handed it to Fi, which should be able to read it. She began to flip through the papers, her eyes quickly scanning each
This is
one.
Latin.
Latin, okay. You mean you can read it?
Yeah, with time and a dictionary.
So in other words, no.
Pardon me for not being able to translate a dead language on the fly. This looks like some kind of research log.
Why would you write it in Latin?
It's not going to be some sort of, I took the dog for a walk today. It was nice kind of stuff. I can understand a little of it, mostly conjunctions and things like that. But most of these words I've never even seen before.
Fi started to leaf through the book again as she spoke. Then suddenly she stopped.
Wait. I can read this one. Page 216.
216.
Research notes. It looks like a personal entry.
What's
Don't
it
rush
say?
me. This is gonna take a minute.
Dot 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 dot.
Interesting. All right, I think I got it. It looks like they're talking about Radical 6.
Two people are talking about Radical 6? What? Why are they talking about that?
Not sure.
Or maybe one person is talking about it in their journal,
Let
I
me
guess.
read it to you. Keep in mind I'm paraphrasing.
When the body is infected with Radical 6, the processing speed of the brain is reduced. Okay, so this is things we've already seen. So we can kind of skip through this. Unless something very different happens here. And then it kind of is questionable then why this information is considered secret information when it's just going to be told to you in the story later anyways. It seems like they were just increasing their numbers of collectibles that could be unlocked. Which that very well may be the case here, is that they got some funding from a publisher, and in part of the contract obligation for that funding they agreed to give a certain number of unlockable collectibles in the game, and thus they threw the minimal effort to have a certain number of unlockable collectibles and bumped that number up to an artificial high amount. Let's see, yeah. This is slightly different. Those infected with Radical 6 perceives the world to be moving at a fever pitch, as if a video cassette is being fast forwarded. For instance, although the patient believes that only 10 seconds have passed, in fact 24.5 seconds have passed, which that doesn't particularly change much at all, because people with Radical 6 I don't think are possibly going to live long enough to have had hundreds of years to pass, so that's not the thing that would have put them in the future if that's going to be a reveal. And we've seen so many instances of time counting down, and so many instances of us being given 2 hours, 5 hours, that it would be fairly ridiculous for them to say that everybody in this facility was infected with Radical 6, and they were actually perceiving time moving at a much faster pace than it was, and then the computers were lying about the times, so it wasn't actually 2 hours that it took, but 6 hours or whatever the ratio would be there. I don't know what that would really prove or change, except for maybe in the case of a bomb counting down to 0, which we haven't gotten to that point. Given this increased speed of input, maintaining the ability to observe and reason would become a Herculean task. One theory holds that the disparity in time perception caused by the brain to be flooded by massive amounts of information, unable to keep up, it begins to fail. Whatever the cause, the infected invariably attempt to take their own lives, which arguably is the most terrifying aspect of the virus. Research suggests a target antiviral could kill, or at least disable Radical 6, but we have been unable to develop one. It seems our best hope now is to harvest antibodies from someone with a natural immunity to the virus. Thus far, however, we've been unable to locate a suitable subject. So far, I've continued my effort to discover an alternate means of treatment. Given my current rate of progress, I predict that I will have a workable treatment within a decade or two. It is my fervent hope that humanity will be able to survive that long. The bodies of the dead are from suicide are piling up along the roads leading into and out of town. So we now know why the secret left some content out. The entire area reeks with stench of decay, and the sky is filled with constant bludgeoning flies. At times the swarms are so thick that when one passes it feels like if a cloud has gone over the sun. Every day I see more crows and rats everywhere feeding on the dead. Ironically, the only healthy looking creatures are the stray cats who have grown fat on plentiful rodent diet. The few humans survived the outbreak have been locked away by the government in underground shelters. I don't know how many were saved, but I fear only a handful. Their survival is the only hope that remains for the human race. Oh Lord, please, let the future be a bright one. So there was a good 5 or 6 sentences in that translation different than what we'd seen before. Whoa, that's a lot of information. Now we know what the virus does to you, though. If you get infected, your brain slows down by the root of 1/6. That's what, about 40%?
That isn't the important part. Those infected by Radical 6 eventually develop a powerful urge to commit suicide.
Yeah, you're right. That would explain why Cork was, well, trying to kill himself.
There are 2 other things in here that worry me. First, the part about how they haven't managed to develop a treatment for it yet. What do you make of that?
That is certainly going to be confusing considering they already know of the Axelver being a treatment. What am I supposed to make of it? Maybe they just hadn't found one when the journal was written. I mean, from what we know, there's a drug called Axelver that cures it.
Exactly. But in the journal it says it might take 20 years to make something like that.
Hold on a second. I'm getting confused. When was this thing even written?
December 29th.
December 29th. What year?
No year.
No year. Thanks. Well, there's no way that was written this year.
Yeah, probably not. Anyway, moving on. The second concern I have is about the underground shelters it mentions. The newspaper article said something about quarantining people too. After we read it, we all thought the same thing. What if this was one of those quarantine facilities? But this journal seems to suggest the opposite. The few humans who survived the outbreak have been locked away by the government in underground shelters.
So, you're kind of getting the exact opposite story here. Instead of the infected being locked away in the warehouse, this says the non-infected were locked away in the warehouse. Instead of being a quarantine, it might be an underground shelter. We're all supposed to be uninfected. We had been thrown in here to keep us safe.
Yeah. I mean, there's no way to say for sure at this point, but it seems possible.
You would think it's kind of pointless to keep people safe by throwing them in a warehouse and not telling them what's going on, and also letting a psychotic person murder people and create Nonary games. There's a lot of weirdness around that concept. Yeah, I mean, there's no way to say for sure at this point, but it seems possible. But Cork's been infected, right?
The virus got in somehow.
Yeah, Dio. That would be bad.
Just think about it for a minute.
But if it is Dio that was infected, we have yet to see Dio actually show any symptoms of it.
If this is one of those shelters, a lot of things start to make sense. Maybe we've been here for a long time. Like, maybe they put us to sleep somehow. Made us sleep for years, maybe even decades.
Yeah. Well, how are you going to keep someone alive for years or decades?
While we were sleeping, the pandemic that the newspaper article talked about happened. And whoever had this journal made this entry.
And then once the antiviral treatment was finished, they woke us up?
Right. It's all just speculation, but...
No, that doesn't make sense. I mean, it seems like a pretty plausible scenario, but we were all captured before the pandemic started, right? And how would they have put us to sleep for that long? How would you have known to do that? How would they have known to do that? But most importantly, why the hell are we playing the Nonary game if the point of this place is to save us? Throwing a bunch of people into a game that might kill them is a pretty weird way of to protect them from a pandemic.
Yeah, you're right.
See?
have enough information to make any real conclusions. I think we should see if we can find anything else.
I had barely finished speaking before she took off for the magenta door. Hey, weren't you coming to the infirmary with me?
Changed my mind. You can tell me about Cork later.
With that, she runs off to parts unknown. She was gone. Man, I let out a long tired sigh and started off toward the infirmary. And we can see the auto injector is still here. And Luna and Timoji is still here, still alive.
He seems to be stable, as far as I can tell.
Still sleeping.
I see. Mind if I have a look?
Go ahead.
They really have just totally forgotten about the dead woman. Made my way around the partition to the side of Cork's bed. The journal and the thing Fi and I had talked about would definitely need to be addressed, but for the moment the AB game was what needed to be. I needed to concentrate on. Lives were at stake, mine and Quark's. Those infected by Radical 6 will eventually develop a powerful urge to commit suicide. Did we really need this flashback? If the journal was telling the truth, then as soon as the anesthetic wore off, Cork would go insane again. What if we weren't able to restrain him a second time? What if he managed to kill himself before we got to him? I guess maybe then there is a possibility that Alice gets infected with Radical 6 and kills herself in some timelines with the scalpel or with the knife. Or perhaps he'd just get out of the infirmary and go hide somewhere. On the other hand, it was like we could keep it wasn't like we could keep anesthetizing him forever. There was only one way to save Cork, and that was with the Axelvar. Unfortunately, Dio had stolen it. If we wanted to get it back, Clover and I would have to vote ally. But if I did, there was an excellent chance I would end up dead. The question was, then, what to do? Sacrifice myself to save Cork, or keep quiet about the dangers he was in to save myself? It was so faint I almost didn't hear it. Ah, are we going to get some more backstory about Grandpa?
Grandpa.
He shifted a little, then fell silent again. It was enough, though. What on earth had I been thinking? How could I even consider letting a child die in my place? Suddenly, my cheeks felt hot with embarrassment and disgust. That I considered letting Cork die, even for a moment, was pathetic. There was only one choice. There had only ever been one choice. No way was I going to leave Cork to die. My hands tightened into fists as I looked down at him. An uncertainty I'd felt before it was gone. Any uncertainty I'd felt before it was gone, I knew what I had to do. Is this going to move us forward to the voting part?
Remain until Ambidex Game polling closes.
See, if the whole trick of this story, and we constantly are looking for tricks, and we know there are some tricks in this story, we just have yet to find most of them. But if the whole trick of the story was the idea that every time she said 10 minutes, it was actually 24.5 minutes. And the whole reason of the Nonary game is to mention times and see if anybody recognizes that time is moving faster than they think it is. But nobody seems to have even begun to question that.
All players, please enter your votes. If no vote is recorded before the deadline has passed, any non-voting parties will automatically ally. Results will be displayed in the warehouse.
I suppose there is a potential unfairness. Also, if somebody did have Radical 6 and then they had a flare-up where time was moving faster than they could think, where they just would accidentally not press a button in time.
You two should head back.
Which I don't know how that ends up making a good outcome. What about you?
I'm worried about Quark.
But you're a solo. If you don't vote...
I'll automatically ally. I know. I heard the voice on the intercom just like you.
Who's he voting against? What are you going to do if Kay and Alice vote betray?
Nothing, I suppose. Just means I lost that round.
Tomoji doesn't seem to even care.
I'd just be voting ally anyway.
See. Alice only has 1, so he has to vote ally or he'd kill her. If they vote betray, it gets Alice up to 4 and Kay up to 9.
You know who my opponents are, right? Alice only has 1 BP left. If I pick betray and they chose ally, I'd kill her. I'm not so desperate to escape that I'm going to kill someone for it. And even if I was, I can't leave Cork behind. You see? Doesn't matter if I go into the AB room or not.
Well, what if Alice and Kay both are dead and they abstain too?
My vote's the same either way.
Then everybody dies. Or everybody that would be left. Tomoji's mind was made up. Trying to persuade him to leave would have been pointless. Alright, take care of Cork.
Of course. You worry about yourself.
Let's go. Luna's gonna have to vote too. Luna and I headed out of the infirmary, leaving Tomoji and Cork behind. When we got to the warehouse, we found everyone else waiting for us. Everybody's alive and going into the AB games. Well, not quite everyone. One other person was missing. Hey, where's Dio?
Look at the doors.
They're all closed. When we came in here before, the one on the far right was open.
And that would mean...
So either somebody killed Dio, or Dio locked himself in there. Which I guess, if you were to lock yourself in there, it does also open up the door to potentially people not trusting you even more. That he went in, I guess. That bastard. He'd probably been worried I might try and take the Axavar from him by force, so he hid himself in the AB room. What a coward. I made up my mind to choose ally no matter what, but part of me had still considered trying to jump Dio if he had dropped his guard. Now he'd made sure I wouldn't get the chance to try.
Where's Tenmyoji?
Luna explained Tenmoji's choice.
I see. Well, I guess that means I don't have to worry about him picking betray.
Right.
Yeah, unless Tenmyoji waited until like 5 minutes later and then ran in to vote. And then press betray. That would be quite the trick to make sure that everybody had gone in the AB room before you entered the warehouse.
What will you guys be choosing then?
But you could do it, certainly. You could wait till like 1 minute was left and then run in.
Ally, of course.
Because my BP is 6, I assume.
Yes.
Yes. As long as Tenmyoji votes ally, I can't choose betray. If I do, Kay's BP will go up to 9.
But what if he forces you?
Like, nobody's even been murdered except for the old lady in this timeline, so Kay really doesn't even have the best reason to betray, even though we have seen him in other timelines betray people. The only solution, I suppose, here would be for specifically Alice to get in the voting room and lock the door and leave Kay out.
You needn't worry. I would never do something so crass.
I guess the question is, how could they distract Kay?
Then you don't need to go in there.
Excuse me?
Alice can vote by herself. Then we don't have anything to worry about, right?
Well,
Dot.
I apologize, but I'm afraid I can't agree to that.
Why not?
I just can't. Shall we go, Alice?
Hey, hold on a minute there.
Kate continued to briskly walk toward the AB room as if he simply hadn't heard Phi. Al scrambled to follow him, perhaps concerned that he would lock her out. Only seconds later, they disappeared into the third room from the left.
I hope Alice is going to be okay.
Well, there's nothing we can do now. If Kay told the truth, she'll be fine.
Yeah.
5 minutes remain.
But if Kay's lying, then both outcomes here end up in the same kind of outcome where we just see Dio escape and leave everybody else to die, where we'd already seen that bad ending once.
Time's almost up. Come on, Luna.
Right.
If one of the people had gone to Gallium Bay and they actually did have the key to take the helmet off of Kay and maybe shut him down if he's a robot, that would be very surprising if we, after this vote, found that that Alice had defeated and potentially turned off / killed Kay. They headed off in a trot towards the second room on the right, or soon out of sight inside it. Alright, Clover, time for us to go.
Right behind you.
I sighted myself and headed for the leftmost AB room. One of these AB rooms is not being used at all, so it's a little surprising he would pick the room with the dead woman in it. He seems to always pick the same room, which was the room with the dead woman in it. So I can press start. Are we going to have any more conversation, or is it just going to be straight up choose it, betray or ally? I don't really have a choice, do I? There's only one thing I can do. I'm going to choose ally. Now, this would be interesting if Clover tried to make a different type of argument to make me betray, compared to the, oh, I'll just seduce you attempt she made. Well, you never know. Just because Dio told us to ally doesn't necessarily mean he's going to pick betray.
You think a jerk like that is going to choose ally if he doesn't have to? No way. He's got 6 BP right now. If he picks betray, then he'll have 9 points.
Well, what about you? You've got 6 BP too, right? If Dio chooses ally and we choose betray, then you'd have 9 BP.
What? No, that's not... I didn't even realize that until you brought it up. I'm just trying to tell you that Dio is going to pick betray.
And see, in this case, that's somewhat believable that Clover may have not even done the math on herself. And Alice has 1 BP right now also, so we assume she has already ordered Clover to leave. And we're very well going to get the exact same ending. And I'm trying to tell you that I've made up my mind. That's who I am. The only choice is ally. The only chance we have to get the medicine back.
That's why Dio called you an IG. What makes you think he's going to give us the Excelivir, even if you do what he says?
Maybe he won't. But I can guarantee that he'll destroy it if I pick betray. That's who he is.
Fine. If you aren't gonna listen to me, then I guess I don't have a choice. I'll be pushing that button.
Huh? Before I realized what was going on, Clover ducked past me and ran toward the voting machine. No, stop. I snatched her by the arm and hauled it backward with all my strength.
Ow!
Did they make a custom animation here where they threw her to the ground? Sorry. Guess that was a little too hard, huh?
What do you think you're doing? You can't just throw a girl around like that.
Well, you're the one who tried to trick me.
But you're gonna die. Dio's going to kill you. You can't do
This is an odd camera angle because it seems like what you're looking at right now is either the floor because you fell to the floor, or the roof because you fell to the floor on your back. Which neither one of those makes sense because they didn't establish where Sigma was or where he was looking. Either that or we're supposed to be looking at the floor and seeing Clover on the floor and they didn't bother to animate it. But then the idea of her not being within your eye line and then you see her face in the window implies you are on the floor, looking at the floor.
10 seconds remain until Ambidex Game polling closes.
Thanks. It means a lot to hear you say that, Clover. I gave her my best reassuring nod, turned to face the polling machine.
3, 2, 1.
So we'll choose Ally first. We'll see where this goes. This probably will take us to a longer ending.
Round 2 of the Ambidex game has been completed. Results will be displayed in the warehouse. Thank you for your participation.
So if Dio betrayed, then I should be at 0. I should be killed either right now or very quickly. And that's the one scenario we haven't seen, is the exact time at which somebody is killed when their points go to 0. Or we get the revelation that actually if your points go below 0, you're fine. You only get penalized if it's exactly 0. Clover and I stepped out of the AB room. For several long moments, we just stared at one another. Words weren't necessary. Everything she would have tried to tell me, I could already see in her eyes. Unless we find out that Dio is dead in the other room, and he automatically allied because of that. Let's go. I turn and head towards the results screen.
Sigma.
How could you kill Dio, though, and shut the door in the AB room? That's the real question. I don't know, because the door shuts as soon as you hit start. I heard her behind me, her voice barely louder than the whisper. The choice was already made. I just stood up straight and kept walking. Kay and Alice betray. Dio betrayed. So Kay now has 9. And Tomoji has 4. And Luna and Phi, who both had 1, now have 3. And Cork has 8. It would have also been, I guess, potentially possible that Luna and Phi could have betrayed Cork. And that would have just balanced it out to a 4 and 5. And Dio betrayed, and so I'm at -0, and Clover is at 4. Dio and Kay are both at 9, so do they both escape in this timeline, or do they kill each other both trying to escape? We may not even see.
Results from round 2 of the Ambidex game will now be displayed. Please check your bracelet to see your updated bracelet points.
9939 -1.
What?
Phi is at -1. He's yet to be killed. Like, he's supposed to have been injected with Soparol at this point, and then like several minutes later you're supposed to be injected with the tuberculin, which far too many buzzwords with drugs. And there was, I think, a drug that would counteract the Soparol or tuberculin, so it wouldn't actually kill you, but we didn't think any of that was in the facility.
Sigma's BP is...
Negative.
Suddenly all eyes were on me. I felt their weight, but stood my ground. It was the result I had expected. I took a deep breath, closed my eyes. I didn't have to wait long. There was a sharp, quick pain in my wrist, barely even noticeable. I couldn't feel anything flowing into my veins, but I knew it was there. First would be the anesthetic Soporil. I blinked, and my vision started to blur. When I tried to think, it felt like my mind had been stuffed with cotton. My legs began to wobble, then gave out entirely as I crumpled to the floor.
Sigma! Sigma! Hang on! Hey! Sigma! Get up!
Sigma!
Oh no!
And while Kay is concerned with that, I think Dio is going to be escaping.
Oh no, oh no, oh no.
This is the one timeline, I guess, where I die before anybody else does. Trying to open my eyelids was like trying to lift sheets of lead. My eyes had lost their ability to focus, but I could make out a blur that it had to be Dio in front of the number 9 door. Damn it. You'll keep your promise, goddammit. I groaned and with a Herculean effort lifted my head and then my sluggish body off the floor. Every step was a battle, and whenever I shifted my weight, my muscles started to give out again. But somehow I forced myself ahead with a single thought burning in my mind. I would reach Dio. Then at last. The smudge of color faded into a recognizable person. I threw out my hand in front of him. Give it back. Give me the medicine.
Don't act like it's yours. Are we supposed to share everything we find here?
I don't care, just hand me the medicine.
What are you talking about?
We found the Axelveer in the laboratory.
And Dio stole it.
What?
You mean he has it? Right now?
Yeah. So?
I kept my promise. No, you. I wasn't a fool. I knew the kind of person Dio was. There was a chance he wouldn't give us back to Axelveer. If he didn't, then I'd die with my hands around his throat. I gathered as much of my mind as I could and got ready to attack.
Fine.
Not quite what I'd been expecting.
Here.
With a shrug, he pulled the vial out of his pocket and tossed it towards me. I caught it and pulled the tiny glass bottle to my chest, worried I might drop it. The label said unmistakably Axelveer. It was the real thing. Clover, take it. I held it out toward her.
Right. Of course.
She quickly tucked it into her pocket. Good. Now, at least Cork will be alright. I guess the question here is there any reason now to not go through the number 9 door if he opens it, since you've already been injected with the poison anyways? With that, the last of my strength left me and I dropped to my knees.
Sigma, are you okay? Sigma!
I really have to question, like, how does this flow end up giving me 3 more novel sections? That seems really crazy.
Sigma!
Unless I have some kind of natural immunity to the drug, or the drug, the secondary drug just wasn't a real thing, or they are going to shut off my heart with the defibrillator or something. I don't know how you get more story here. I guess this is it.
First is the Soporil, which put you to sleep. 9 minutes later, the tubocularine is injected, numbing your respiratory muscles.
Yeah. Tubocularine.
It'll really take your breath away.
It numbs your respiratory muscles, so theoretically somebody could potentially do CPR on you for quite a while, like until the medicine is like completely out of your system. I mean, you could be talking hours, maybe even days of constant CPR needing to be done that way, or just being on oxygen, being on a forced respirator type device. Once the soap was injected, I had 9 minutes until the muscle relaxants followed it. About 4 minutes had already passed, which left me with 5, give or take a little. In 5 minutes, I'd be dead. What could I do in 5 minutes? How could I save myself? Hey. I gave a raspy, quiet laugh. Even though the death was staring me in the face, it seemed to be determined to struggle. I seemed to be determined to struggle right up until the very end. Okay, Sigma. You can do this. Clinging desperately to what little consciousness I had left, I racked my brain for any possible solutions. How could I save myself? How? There had to be something. Every problem, no matter how difficult, has a solution. There's always another option. Hopelessness is a state of mind. I just had to think. Think. If there was any way out, I'd find it. I wasn't ready to give up on life yet. There had to be an answer. To be continued. Alright, so I guess that does explain the situation better. There is some way I can counteract being injected. And if there is some way I can counteract me being injected, then it almost certainly implies that there's some way that I can counteract other people being injected. So I can't go any further on this. 5 minutes of life, lock number 3. So let's just rewind to the other option, where we will vote betray. I don't think it's going to do anything other than give us a dead end here, because if we vote betray, that just leaves us unchanged, but gives 9 to K, and then K escapes, and we have yet another instance in which K just escapes. Although perhaps in this scenario K has different reasoning for escape, I don't think it's really going to be that different. You have to be looking at the floor in this scenario because the roof looks different. So you throw it to the floor. They don't animate her being on the floor.
What do you think? You can't just. But you're gonna you can't.
Just skip through all that. See, yeah, you're not looking at the roof. The roof has grating on it. And the hatch. And I guess theoretically that implied that you turned around to look at the roof when you were listening to the announcer. Alright, so we betray.
Round 2 of the Ambidex game.
Then you have like 5 sentences here that don't matter. So we can skip that. If Cork is not Zero's senior, then I don't understand why there's a hint that pretty much says that Zero Jr. or Zero in general is a child. Unless it's just to imply that, yes, Zero Jr. is a junior, because we wouldn't have known that when we found out that solution. Clover and I walked slowly out of the AB room. Dio glanced over at us as he exited his own room. I looked away before he could make eye contact.
Sigma, why? After all that stuff you said. I mean, it's not like I'm criticizing you. I think you made the right decision.
She's now just asking why, and I don't even know if there is a good answer why. Sorry.
To apologize. I think I would have chosen betray if I was in your position.
This is, once again, awkward pose for this conversation.
We'll find another way, alright? We just have to keep an eye on Dio.
I suppose if there was a video game out there, and I suppose this game proves that, really. If there was a video game out there where it was a universe or a world where everybody was just a naturalist nudist walking around naked, I would be incredibly distracted by that story. So I'd probably have to play, I imagine, 500 hours or something of different games like that until I became incredibly blasé around the idea of natural, smoothest characters walking around in a story or a video game, and them not like sexualizing it and doing anything provocative, them just being clothing optional.
As soon as he gives us an opening, we take it.
Alright, so we're gonna both attack Dio.
And I'm sure Alice will help us too.
Did you tell her?
It's okay. We can trust Alice. There's no way she told him. Anyway, let's go check the results.
Yeah. It'd be funny if Dio actually allied this time. So, betray, ally, betray. And a big, much bigger pause in that case.
Results from round 2 of the Ambidex game will now be displayed.
And I guess they always put Sigma in a pair at the end of the listings.
Please check your bracelet to see your updated bracelet points.
Everybody's still alive, at least in this timeline. But then K has 9. We did get the answer that negative numbers do get you murdered.
What the hell is this?
Sorry, I decided to choose betray.
So you don't care what happens to Quark?
What kind of cold-hearted bastard are you? Please, just give it back.
Hey, Sigma, what are you talking about?
We found Axelware in the laboratory.
Dio stole it. What? You mean he has it? Right now?
Nah, I don't have it. Well,
What?
I won't have it in about 2 seconds.
The moment the words left his mouth, I knew what he planned to do. No, don't. I leapt toward him as I spoke, but I was already too late. Dio snatched the vial out of his pocket, brought it up, and smashed it. Although, in a pinch, like, medicine doesn't automatically go bad just because it's broken and on the ground. You could certainly get a needle and suck up the fluid and try not to have glass shards in it, tiny glass slivers.
No.
Which you probably have a decent chance at that. There might be some drugs out there that need to be under vacuum or not exposed to the air. But I'd still totally just get another needle, suck that up, and inject it in Cork. It's better than nothing. You bastard.
What are you doing?
A promise is a promise. If you chose an ally, this never would have happened. You want to blame someone? Blame yourselves.
God. I had enough. Something snapped in my brain. Bastard. Grah, grah. I let out a guttural roar and leapt forward. Yeah, only to be stopped short by a firm hand on my arm. It was Phi. Why are you stopping me?
This isn't the time for that.
Huh? What do you mean? This isn't the
Look
time
at the
for.
number 9 door.
K. K was indeed standing in front of the 9 door. What is he? 9. His BP is 9.
What?
Suddenly, we were all running toward K in the number 9 door. And in this timeline, K didn't even promise that he wasn't going to escape. Where's Alice? Did he murder her? K, what the hell do you think you're doing?
What am I doing? Well, that should be obvious. But if you insist, I am attempting to leave.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I assure you, I would do no such thing. I am perfectly serious. After a rational assessment of the facts, I have concluded that this is the wisest course of action. What is currently our highest priority? The answer is, of course, to save Quark. He must be taken to a hospital as soon as possible. For that to happen, one of us must escape and call for help.
Okay, so that this is his different justification for leaving.
The only one of us capable of doing so is myself. That is why I intend to escape.
And leave us all behind.
Unavoidable, but as I said, I do intend to call for help.
Couldn't you have at least waited until the next round? Then you could have raised Quark's BP to 9 and taken him with you.
And what would happen if Dio was Quark's opponent in the next round? I have no illusions about what Dio would do.
Yep.
This is the most logical choice.
He is making a decent logical argument. Where is Alice, though?
The number 9 door has been opened.
It really does feel like Kay just killed Alice
Will remain
or knocked her out.
for 9 seconds.
Wait! Where's Alice?
Ah, yes. Alice is in the AB room. She has collapsed, but you needn't be concerned. She is only sleeping.
Oh no! What did you do to Alice?
You will need to ask her yourself. I must take my leave.
Hey,
So he drugged her,
damn it!
but didn't kill her, which does kind of speak that Kay may not actually be a killer.
Wait.
Dio charged at Kay, but the larger man easily sidestepped him and tumbled nimbly through the door just before it closed.
The number 9 door.
Yeah,
is
and then we'll
empty.
just have like
The number
redundant
Thank you
text,
for
I
your
think,
participation.
and we probably aren't going to get any more story
All doors other
as
than
far as
number 9 door.
Alice being knocked out.
Escape is not possible. Please enjoy your
But I think the game probably is unlocking and saving something every time we get a game over. So I imagine at the very least there's an achievement around getting every ending. But I would also be very annoyed if there's an achievement from like the first game 999 that I missed, or if there's an achievement that specifically requires you to do every single line of dialogue, because there are a couple options that not dialogue options, but just chromatic door choices that clearly aren't right. So Quark game over, Tenmoji game over 1, Dio game over, K game over, Luna game over 1. So you even know kind of where you're going to end up in this whole split. So then that brings us way back up here.
10 seconds remain until
Right.
Well, you won.
So we did the rock, paper, scissors. Remember?
Decision's yours. Now decide. Ally or betray.
3, 2, 1.
We allied the second round, or the first round. So we got betray this time. And then I don't even know who we're against and what that really is going to line up our time, our points with, but I think it's probably going to end up giving me 0. No change.
Results will be displayed in the warehouse. Thank you for your participation. Ambidex gates now opening.
It is a problem, I think, in the gameplay design and the story writing that when you are jumping around, you almost always are going to be jumping around right around the AB game. So those should probably feel visually distinct each round, or at least more recognizable, because it would be fairly easy, fairly easy to like accidentally jump to this AB game decision and it feel exactly the same as this AB game decision, and it feel pretty much, well, actually I think this is a chromatic door decision, and in this case we're not even going to have a choice. I think as far as the chromatic door, we're going to green.
That's messed up.
What? You said I should.
I didn't say that. I just asked you a question. What would happen to our BP if Tenmyoji chose to betray us?
It was a leading question. Oh, I get it. I was wondering why you were so happy to let me choose after you lost in rock, paper, scissors. You were planning to use me as a scapegoat all along.
Was I?
God damn it. Yeah, we're still talking to Zero Jr.
Anyway, we need to go have a look at the results first. Come on.
Boy, it really is a different story after this last point, which you talked to Zero Jr. There's kind of like no reason for him to have disappeared in the story anyways. The only thing I could guess is that they once again ran out of animation budget.
If everybody would.
So everybody was at 3 to start with. In this version, everybody ends up with 6 except for the solos.
Here are the results from your now. Let us.
Which
I got betrayed?
he chose ally? Why? He chose betray last time.
What are you talking about?
Oh, nothing. So now wait a minute. We apparently have started to see the timelines change, because last time it was betray over here, and now the timelines are changing. So pretty much Tomoji's vote in this first vote was pretty much just random. Well, that's weird. Could that mean this is actually the perfect path? Maybe, but I kind of doubt it. Truth was, I didn't know why I'd said that either. The words had just appeared in my mouth before I knew I was saying them. Finally, we're starting to see what this game unlocks, and inherently, we are 18, maybe even 20 hours into this game, it feels like. For the game to start unlocking this way halfway through is kind of ridiculous that it's taken that long, and it's really not going to change the story that much. It also kind of implies that had I gone down this flow path first and not gone down this one, there would be slight differences in this experience. So nobody actually, I would guess, experiences all of the game content, because there are just sentences, triggers, gates that cause more dialogue to play depending on how much of the game you've played before.
You're the one who chose betray. I should be asking you why.
I told him you might choose betray.
Fine, you.
Can't believe you. I'd never choose betray.
We've seen him betray.
I trusted you two, and this is what I got.
I apologize.
Fine. You don't need to apologize. I was the one who did it. I pushed a button.
Yeah, I guess you've got a point.
Huh? Wait, what?
Sigma's fault. If you want to blame someone, blame him.
What the hell, Fi?
What, you gonna fight each other now? I don't care which one of you pushed the button. I'm never trusting either of you again.
So we pretty much just lost any trust with Timoji. If that's a problem, I don't know.
This isn't over. Just you wait.
I tried to think of something to say, but before I could come up with the right words, he was gone. I spun around. Bye. What the F? She was gone too. God. Where the hell? How'd she just disappear like that? As I looked around the room, I noticed Clover and Luna seemed to be having an argument as well. I moved closer and did my best to listen surreptitiously.
Why did you do it? Sorry. I guess I wanted to get out of here as soon as possible, you know?
I apologize, but I felt the same way.
But if we all choose ally, then we could all escape together. It only takes 3 turns to get 6 points. That would be enough to get us out. Why?
So, obviously there's a timeline here where everybody does just choose ally. Or I think there is a timeline like that. That is going to oddly be different than the other branches on that same path.
Of course we know that. But if we betray, then it's faster.
If your opponent chooses ally and you choose betray, then you gain 3 points. Do that twice and you get 6 points. You see?
If you ally, then you have to play the AB game 3 times.
But if you betray somebody, you only have to do it twice.
Why are you acting like that's the right thing to do? I almost feel like you're blaming me or something.
We aren't trying to blame you.
But, I mean, if you just think about it, wouldn't it make sense to choose betray? Forget it. I understand now. It was silly of me to trust you guys.
So nobody trusts anybody. Her back trembled as if perhaps she was crying, but I couldn't see her face. This does feel like a different line of dialogue than I saw. Alice, Dio, and Cork, however, seeming to be having some issues of their own.
Fine. You just wait.
So in this case, we missed the conversation that Alice was having with Dio
This is all your fault, Quark.
and Cork.
My fault? Why are you blaming me?
They exchanged dark looks. It's really, really hard to believe that Cork actually voted against somebody. Now we've seen Dio as the bad guy in so many timelines. It's like everybody is mad at everybody in this timeline.
Zero, when does the next round start?
What makes you think?
Well, you said round. If there's a round
Now we
one,
just
then
skip
Besides,
a bunch of this.
that's impossible.
You're right.
When?
I don't know.
Why not?
The voting hopping.
There...
Right. So.
The Ambidex Round 2 Moon Cards.
Yes, and now you'll have.
So let's just continue skipping.
How many times do we play the...
Yeah, this is the particularly long
So it's over when someone
explanation that I don't see a real reason why it needed to be repeated, since you pretty much know everything that's said here by the second or third run, and it would have been easy to just slightly move around when this conversation happened.
Yeah. So.
Now, I get that is probably why Zero Jr. does disappear from the story, because anytime he talks, he goes on and on and on, explaining the rules of the game, so he needs to be at the front.
There is one thing.
So I would
All that stuff about how
I would probably even more front load his conversations and put the decisions in the branching paths lower.
Just use the
What?
there's a sweet check. But
So, ding ding ding.
Just go skip all of this, but we can't go into skip mode.
no, they're doing.
Then how?
Well, there's the first is to get through the as soon as you're out.
What's the second way?
A lot of this stuff wouldn't have really changed the story
Wake up, will ya?
at all.
What's the second way?
Wait a minute. Did Dio just say another sentence because Zero Jr. paused?
Oh, Theo. I think you already know.
I don't know if there was a sentence there already or not. Oh, yeah. I get it. The reason why he says this, why he says Dio, you already know how the second way the watch comes off, is because Zero Jr. saw Dio murder the old lady and get the watch.
Do you really want to get rid of that bracelet?
Of course I do.
Which then this whole conversation takes on a secondary meaning
No.
since we know he's a
I see.
imposter.
It's easy. Nothing to it, really.
You die.
Here's an exciting fact. Your heart. You know
So
when
then
the
we
heart
can
records
skip the rest of this stuff.
Anyway, the point is,
Hmm.
fancy little bracelets pick up. So, when that signal goes away,
The lock on the bracelet releases, right?
so there you go.
See,
The
now
second
we're
way.
at the danger point where at any point there could be one extra sentence somewhere. It could be slightly different. We've gotten familiar enough with the repeated content that anything new or different will potentially stand out quite brightly. Although it is also a decent possibility that they would say something slightly differently and it would not recognize it.
If you try something I don't think I need to remind you what happens when you do that.
Like, I have no idea what the final sentence here is. He's gonna say is, "Have a nice tragedy" or "Have a nice trap."
It's not going to be very lucky for some of you.
Next round.
Yep.
What do you mean?
Well, do I have to explain everything? Somebody might die during the next round of the AB game.
And this sentence will be the different,
That's pretty clear,
obviously, because the outcomes are different.
If I had to guess, I'd say it's going to be Tanbioldi, or Alas, or Mooney, or maybe
Everyone?
What?
Why?
Yeah. Why am I going to die?
I guess I can tell you why. Anyone whose BP drops to 0 gets penalized. Just like when you... I'm pretty sure.
So, yep.
I see. Alice, Luna, and I only have 1 BP. That means we'd have less than 0 if we lost 2 points.
What? What the hell? This is important stuff. Why didn't you tell us about this earlier?
And then we're back to this conversation where, in other timelines, Fi would have already known about this rule that people would die if it went below 0.
Not going to
In this timeline, she didn't know that, though.
tell us the rules, not hide them.
Well,
Is there anything else you conveniently left out? It's not fair to make people play a game without explaining all the rules.
I think it's fair. After all, it's not like anybody else knew.
Took a moment to go over everything in my head. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, blah, blah. So much of this is just repeated and unnecessary.
One last thing. next set of chromatic doors you'll be going through are downstairs. You already saw them, right? There should have been 3. Red, blue, and green.
And at this time we'll go through the green door, and that should take us through the center door past the green door.
Yellow.
But wait, you've already got those bracelets. Have a look. The color's changed, hasn't it?
So, is anybody going to be a solo that is also having 1 point?
Mine's magenta too.
So we're going to be with Clover
Me too.
and someone else.
Hey, wait. It wasn't just the color that changed. I'm a solo now.
Clover and I are still pairs, though. Wait a minute, was I? Well, Clover and I are pairs, but we were in different pairs.
I'm a yellow pair now.
Okay, so she's a pair and she has 1.
I am yellow as well, but it seems I'm still a pair.
Then who's the yellow solo?
Me.
Still a solo.
So Tin Miyoji's still solo with
Looks
1.
like I'm cyan.
I'm a cyan pair. Aren't you one too?
Yeah. Says pear, and the color's cyan.
When did they change?
Back when the AV gates closed.
I guess a question to ask here certainly would be,
As soon as the gates closed,
what would happen if somebody was colorblind?
automatically. The pair and solo assignments hop around, and of course, it's totally random.
Yeah, he says it's random. I don't know if it really is.
No rules or anything.
It's not really random, though. It's, of course, scripted to follow the
That explains,
story.
sadly.
What?
Well, I mean,
And see, this section in particular is unnecessary.
See you guys again.
And by him just saying he's never coming back, also that doesn't open the door for any red herrings where maybe Zero Junior was shut down. Which that would be pretty interesting, frankly, is if somebody had quote unquote murdered Zero Junior early on just to create more tension.
I may be gone, but I'm always watching. Maybe I'll see you again someday.
Have a nice tragedy.
Tragedy this time. Which that may be the same thing it was said before.
That little piece of shit. If I could just get my hands on that little fucker, I'd squeak.
Let's keep on going forward.
So, what happens now? We've still got a while until the chromatic doors open.
Yeah, we have 42 minutes,
We should go and see if we can find any other exits.
and I guess we're just going to
Maybe
investigate,
there's a vent or a disposal chute or something.
and maybe we'll see that
If there's a chance Zero
Cork
knows something.
gets sick again, although maybe not.
I concur. There's no point in standing around. We lose nothing by looking. And if we find nothing, we can always return and go through the chromatic doors.
Let's split up. 5 minutes would give us a good half hour, so... Let's meet in front of the chromatic doors 5 minutes before they open then. Any objections?
There were none. After some nods and mumbling, they split up and moved off to investigate. I was the only person who stayed behind. Damn. How the hell did I end up here? Why? Why me? And see, this is even more just pointless dialogue that I really don't feel like. Had I started with a fight with a frightening and mysterious new religion, we do know that exists. though. Is there a terrorist group server? Maybe. Witness an assassination? No. Yeah. Unless there's something that one timeline reveals by doing this flashback sequence, it does feel very much like it's really just wasting time putting a whole nother novel section behind a previous novel section. He mentions a girlfriend who had broken up with him a week before. Wouldn't it be funny if the girlfriend had some involvement here? But that's unlikely. They still haven't figured out that password either. And we're back to the cursor making typing sounds every now and then, while not doing that very consistently. I guess maybe it only makes typing sounds when he's talking to himself. Or when maybe he's speaking out loud. I really do feel like the Zero in the first game is more scary than the Zero in the second game as Zero Jr. We haven't even really seen the Zero in the Zero Senior in this game. In more hours and hours in. Such a waste of time. That's all this feels like. We don't need this. We don't need to see the same scene a maximum of 4, 5, 6 times. Why is this happening to me? It's been a few days wallowing in misery. I figured I deserved a little self-pity. Even I knew brooding and whining wasn't going to get me anywhere. Like Kay said, we needed to at least try and find some way. So I shook my head straight up and headed off. Alright, well, in this, I mean, I don't think it matters, frankly, one bit. I think you go to each location every time, regardless. Have we ever gone to the crew quarters first? I think so. Have we ever gone to the infirmary first? I think so. Let's just start at the top. I think your conversation that you have when you're doing this section is affected by who you voted for in the AB game. And that's it.
Ah, Sigma.
Another dude.
So let's try and skip through all this, because I doubt there's anything new.
Although I guess I did. I'd say that the comfort level of a sofa is pretty useful.
Yeah, because I feel like novel section, these two novel sections are going to be fairly useful.
What's the...
That? What? It's a dirt... Can you even just look at the...
It appears to be... The cover says the eclipse...
Oh, yeah, I guess it did say something.
Unless something different.
6 days.
You mean today is just...
Hey, Kay. Your team went to the crew quarters, right? Did you find anything?
Nothing of interest.
You'd better not be...
There really wasn't, at least, nothing that could help. There was a book about a cat.
A cat? What? So now Zero... Just what the hell are we... Hey!
Yeah, I'm just trying to jump through all this and see if there's any other line of dialogue.
So it's a story about poor Mr. Schrodinger and his beloved cat, right? Don't tell me. Ooh, fucking.
Fine. Never mind.
We might go to crew quarters as the second choice instead of the infirmary.
Hello, Sigma. So this is where you were. Did any of you find anything? You were looking, though. Hey, answer me. And
It's just
useless.
What about you,
keep on
Sigma?
skipping.
You were one of the people searching the infirmary.
Then we talk about the Radical 6.
It looks like.
And
The
then,
headlines? Radicals?
What is?
and then Dio tries to argue that it's all
Radical says
fake,
the WA that the death immediate course.
which we kind of know absolutely can't be the case.
Is there a chance? I mean,
Then. Well, I do feel a little strained.
Just a lot of button mashing now.
suggest
Yeah. It just doesn't add up. Maybe if we'd been. But right now it looks. How's that make any. Besides, that means Zero seen.
Why would Seer?
So that we'd think this place. So that we'd think what's.
How do you mean?
This thing is just a. Zero's trying to. That article is a fake. Right?
Quite the red herring he
Probably
sends
too
you
much
down.
What does the other side look like?
If the article was fake, it pretty much just says then that the disease was created by Zero.
See? There you go.
Zero Senior
Why would a
also.
newspaper just be black.
Well, perhaps
An ad?
some sort of full-page ad.
Exactly. Even I know that, and I can count the number of times I've. If Zero Senior really wanted to trick us,
I'm running out
why
of
not go
steam,
all out?
definitely,
Only an idiot would fall for this. It's
at this
pathetic.
point.
Am I right or what?
I suppose you...
Yes,
I wanted to get to the escape room,
right. We would have heard.
but I'm not sure I'm gonna make it to through an escape room. We probably will make it to the escape room.
Good idea.
So then we go there. And these are both marked as new, so because it's a different path. So we'll go to the crew quarters next, and then infirmary last. Almost certainly we're gonna just have the same conversation in which Clover and Alice are talking, although perhaps we don't catch them talking in the infirmary first, so perhaps we don't get any conversation.
Well, have you found anything?
Nothing.
I looked through 3 or 4 of the rooms in here.
Actually, I don't know what this conversation is going to be, come to think of it. So there might very well be an order in which you need to search these rooms that's correct.
Secret passages so far.
I don't think we're gonna find any.
I very well may have to use a walkthrough if that's the
Think
case.
Zero Senior is that stupid?
You're probably right. A secret passageway would be a pretty serious oversight. I have a lot of choice adjectives for Zero, but I admit stupid isn't one of them.
Right?
What?
What exactly is the deal with the two of you? Well, you obviously know each other pretty
Yeah,
well.
we do. We're half sisters.
In this case, we don't ask about headquarters because I don't think we overheard them.
Any chance you'd buy that one?
Then what
Sorry.
do you think we are?
I didn't feel like playing games. What's headquarters supposed to mean? Oh, I guess we did overhear him. I heard you two talking in the infirmary. You said something about getting in touch with headquarters. So I guess that was in the previous section.
Alice, what should we do?
Clover and I are co-workers. We can't tell you that.
So this seems like
You can
this
tell
is
yourself that if it makes you feel better.
this is like the same group, same story. And I have a hard time believing that Clover and Alice are terrorists.
Why would you think that?
This does reveal some stuff,
Well, this isn't the
Clover.
but this information that was
I
revealed,
think we can tell him a little.
it does not really help.
About a
Doesn't
year
help
ago,
anything in this timeline at all.
9 people were killed. The rules were different. Oh, wait.
Hmm.
I mean, 2 of them. No, I guess. Anyway, the people.
In a funny way, in that flashback where they show you that one small scene with the background of the first game, they have to make it look worse because the backgrounds in this game actually look way worse than the first game.
Part of it. I was
And
one of the people who got
They
kidnapped.
really blew their budget and dropped the ball going 3D.
No.
And almost certainly that's always the case
Third.
for game developers. Is when they get the bug to go 3D, the next game that they make, the first game they make in 3D, turns out to look pretty awful and pretty dated. The good news is with modern technology, it's not as bad, but there definitely were a lot of point-and-click adventure games that tried to go 3D. The Broken Sword series is a great example of that, where they tried to go console with gamepad controls for a point-and-click game. They tried to go 3D.
I guess you could say
It
that.
drastically changed things. Of course, you could also compare those types of games to things like the first Tomb Raider and how low polygon those type of games looked, and they were always 3D.
Because the game was run by a different person, and the guy behind the first.
You can also fairly tell I'm not paying much attention to any of this.
They're still on the run. No, I really don't think so. Because they already did what they were trying. There's no way they'd have enough.
Let's keep on jumping.
Well,
Just trying to speed read this without actually reading it. I guess that is worth mentioning too, is that speed reading
I don't know.
kind of doesn't have the level of reading comprehension you would expect. And most speed reading techniques directly tell you not to actually read every word and just get the general concept,
I don't know.
which makes speed reading fairly useless for anything technical where you need to get all the details right and understand everything, and thus then limits speed reading to only being maybe useful if you wanted to sort of comprehend an entertainment book, which at that point, why are you shortchanging your entertainment?
Well,
But I guess in fairness, I'm shortchanging my entertainment by trying to
That's
skim
what happened a year ago, and that's what happened
this.
on the 22nd. But I don't know why they. I mean, they already did what they needed to. And if it was them, then I don't know why all these other people are here, except for me and Alice. None of you guys have anything to do with what happened a year ago.
We assume so. It would be funny if it turned out that Sigma was like one of the older kids that beat up Junpei when he was a kid. Because, yeah, I can't even believe I remember this. In the perfect timeline, a lot more of June and Junpei's history gets revolved, and there was this like psychopath serial killer, or just older kids were killing rabbits, the rabbits that were at school. And so that there might be a reason why there's a rabbit as Junior the Third, and some older kids did beat up Junpei while he was protecting rabbits, I believe. But a lot of that really was just red herring stuff that never got explained, and it would be really crazy if it did get explained in the sequel game,
Yeah.
since the sequel game is introducing so many other red herring content.
Tenmyoji or Quark or Phi, but K.
Clover would have met all the other kids in the first Nonary game, but they would have been kids, so Yeah, there's still a possibility that any of these people are related to the kids of the first Nonary game.
Right. There's no way to know who he is under that armor. And if his memory loss is real, he wouldn't know even if he had met any of us.
And if Kay turned out to be the bad guy in the first game with face blindness, that would be crazy, because then you'd have to just assume his armor is helping him adjust for the face blindness issue. But it also would be very questionable as to why the bad guy in the first game would once again be running a Nonary game.
Unless we can get that mask off him, I can't say for sure if I've met him before or not.
And we still haven't accomplished that in 7 timelines.
Sorry, but I think that's all you're going to get.
What?
We don't have any proof that you're not Zero Senior. If you are, then she'd be telling our enemy all our secrets. I can't let that happen.
This feels like a different bit of ending to this conversation.
I wouldn't say that. Maybe there's something we know that Zero Senior doesn't.
Yeah, this definitely feels different. I've also been noticing that there have been some black flashes. If you've been seeing that in the footage, that might be an indication that the game itself is highlighting just very subtly when the timelines slightly change. But I bet it's not that. I bet it's just a visual glitch. I'm seeing little black squares flash just for like 1 frame. And that would be...
Deaf? I said we're not telling you.
I'll see if I can call it out next time I see it. Frankly, I might just be blinking.
Let's go, Clover. There's one more room we haven't visited.
Oh, okay. Coming.
That did end the story differently. I'm almost certain that ended differently. The only word that appropriately describes how they left the room would be stalked. I could have followed them, sure, but it was clear I wouldn't be getting any more information out of Alice and Clover. Damn it. I kicked one of the lockers angrily, but it only rattled back at me. There wasn't any more I could do. It was time to move to a different room. Where did I want to go? There's only one place left to go, the infirmary. So... So it does seem like there is a combination lock, as it were. Don't go to the lounge first, go to the infirmary first, and then the crew's quarters. Maybe.
What do you want?
Yeah, Tim Miyoji is not going to help me. What do I want? What, you think I'm here to play doctor? Only if you're secretly Clover. Going with the pervert argument, too. I don't know why you would even say that over Alice or Phi, really.
Tell you what, how about I'll be the doctor? You get on the exam table and I'll cut you open with that scalpel over there.
Man, are you still pissed?
What the hell do you think? My BP's down to 1 thanks to you.
Come on, I already told you I was sorry.
Yes, and that makes it all better, you goddamn idiot.
Well then, what the heck am I supposed to do?
Piss off.
Think somehow like I'm already doing that.
You don't know the half of it. Just get out of my sight.
Easy solution then, just close your eyes.
Leave before I make yours black. The last guy I fought went home in an ambulance.
Shouldn't have picked a fight with a paramedic then.
Shut up.
See, now we're just making jokes. Fine. I shoved my hands in my pockets and looked around the room. So, is it just you here?
This side of the divider, yeah.
This side.
Cork's over there, having a look around. And there's... You really gonna make me say it?
Interesting. So that conversation played out because he's mad at you, and then it just goes into the same experience as before. We never did get to see the photo in his pocket.
Oh, what? Isn't that normal? We found a dead body. Who the hell? What ain't normal is all of you just. Hell, some of you probably don't even remember she's in there.
Yeah. In all fairness, yeah. It has become incredibly easy to forget that she was murdered.
Oh, just trying to survive, huh? Then don't you think we ought to figure out who killed her first? You don't think much, do you? I'll bet you a pound of neodymium. The bastard who grabbed us is the same bastard. Who else could it be?
Yeah, still just trying to skip through all this context. It's like 40 minutes straight of text.
Yeah.
Hard to make criticism when you've seen the same thing multiple times.
Not really. The gas made pretty short work of me. Me and Cork. Yeah.
In a funny way,
What do you want to know?
every time you try to go down a path and get more information in this game, it just kind of kicks you in the gut and laughs at you for doing it. You don't actually get the information you'd like to get by doing what would seem to be the logical thing to get that information. Instead, you kind of just fumble towards an ending, and if you get an ending, then that gives you something that could potentially unlock a to be continued path, which we still haven't even accomplished that once.
Cork's got nothing to do with this. What is it, goddammit? What do you want? Why don't you just leave me alone?
Tin Myoji feels a lot like how Santa was written in a lot of the story in the first game, which just kind of made him an unpleasant character that you didn't want to do anything with, even though you ended up having to pair up with him as much as you had to pair up with anyone else. When and where did Zero Senior abduct you?
Like I'm gonna tell that to someone who betrayed me.
We don't get that information, I think, regardless.
Stop it. Quark! Don't tell him a damn thing!
So, is it the case that Dio has Radical 6, but for some reason he's immune because he's a clone, and he touched the old lady when she was, when he murdered her, and that infected her with Radical 6, and thus Cork touched the old lady's body and got it. That's a possibility. It could also just be airborne, and Cork is on the other side of this divider, and that's how he picks it up. Cork.
What?
It's how it fell off. I don't think this happened before. This is different. Yeah, this is different. With the yell, he shoved me away and ran to the boy's side.
Cork. What's wrong? Say something.
Timoji shook the boy's body. Is he breathing?
Yeah. He's breathing.
Then he just passed out.
No. Look, that doesn't matter. Just go find that girl, Luna. She said she was a doctor, didn't she? Quark needs a doctor.
So the only thing that would have changed here is that I came here last, so Cork had more time to potentially get sicker. Right. Hang on. I'll be right back. So he's probably still in the lounge. I spun out around and ran off. Either that or the timelines are just making Cork sicker and sicker, faster and faster. But I'm fairly certain he didn't pass out in the last timeline. Although, yeah, it's just such a mess to keep any of it straight in your head. He could have passed out.
I know what's wrong with him.
And then later on, he could have had the brain slow down scene. And then he could have tried to kill himself.
I feel so terrible saying this, but Cork hasn't. Oh no.
Let's go ahead and try and skip all of this.
Yes, he's been infected with a virus called
Like, I feel like they should have had all the voice actors make a shocked sound instead of playing just a sound effect when it swooped in the image of them acting shocked.
Yeah, they have.
Let's
I
keep
told
on
him about it before we
skipping.
went to the lounge.
Keep on moving forward.
No. No, that can't be right. Quark can't be... There must be something we can do. How can we cure him?
Well, the Atom says that there's an antiviral serum called Excelavir. It's the only way to counteract Radical 6. If we can inject him...
Where is it?
Was there none in the infirmary?
Sigma, Tenmyoji, and I looked everywhere. We didn't find anything.
We didn't find anything like that in
Keep
the crew
on
quarters
skipping
either.
to
No luck in the lounge.
Oh, God.
move faster, move faster, move faster. This is boring. It's hard to pay attention.
Quark?
Quark! Oh, thank God.
See, he's got the scalpel in his hand. He's going to try and kill himself again, which I guess does mean that he passed out in this timeline, where in the previous timeline he just acted weirdly.
You're awake.
Get away from me!
Is he going to say something different?
What? Quark, what are you...
Sorry, Grandpa. I can't. I have to.
Have to what? What are you talking about?
Isn't it obvious? I have to escape.
But how?
Like this.
This would be funny if he actually succeeded in killing himself this time. Stop. We grab him. So I grab him.
Yeah, right.
On it.
Me too.
Stop it!
Who takes the scalpel? I thought it was Clover.
Oh. Right.
Damn you, bastards! Why won't you let me go?
Is that perhaps an instance when Tenmyoji zones out? Is that perhaps an instance where he has Radical 6 also? Like, I guess it is questionable every time we've seen somebody pause or zone out. Could it be that they have Radical 6? Perhaps even Zero Jr. is not actually an AI, and that's why we've heard them. He paused in one place.
I have to get out of this body. They can't lock away the soul. Once my body's gone, my soul can escape. Please, you have to let me go. Let me
And seriously unlikely that this lines of dialogue are gonna say anything different. They're gonna make you sit through it several times, at least 2 times.
Right. I've got it.
So Clover does take the scalpel.
Luna,
Let's see.
yes?
Are there any tranquilizers in?
No. Well, I mean,
What?
there's Soparil.
That's the anesthetic. The one that's in our brain.
Good, perfect. Hit him with some of that.
What?
He'll be fine. It's just an anesthetic, Tim. It won't hurt him, I promise.
But
Just hurry up and do it. Come on, Luna. Okay. Let me just...
This scene almost feels like they were throwing a bone to the voice actor of the kid,
Okay, I got
considering how he's just like missing through an entire branch. I wouldn't be surprised if it's missing through 2/3 of the branches.
Now, do it now.
Right. No! Stop! Stop!
It's funny, she's holding his other foot while she injects the other one. If you were gonna hold down anything, it would be hold down the leg you're trying to auto inject.
Respiration, according to these readings. Yes.
It's funny, we really are just getting the same thing over and over again.
He shouldn't wake up for a few hours.
Man, he sure was strong for such a little guy.
I think that might be the virus's fault. It probably attacked.
Yeah? How do you
Yeah.
Huh? Oh,
How much do you know?
not much. I probably know all I've seen about it.
So keep on skipping.
Why would I lie about that? I've seen other viruses that do the
I
same
feel like
thing.
there probably
I
is
just
an
don't
order
think
here
yes.
where you, in one timeline, go to the infirmary first, then you go to the crew quarters, then you go to the lounge last.
So when Quark tried to kill himself, are you saying that was because of Radical 6 too? Yes, at least I think so.
I don't know how the story would really play out that way, though. Because if you go to the infirmary first, don't you immediately get called back into the infirmary later? Or maybe you don't. Yeah, there's definitely a problem where a lot of these paths are not obvious as far as how your actions end up affecting the outcomes.
Are you saying this?
I already.
Why not?
See.
Then you're.
But the virus is clear. That Adam machine told us he was infected.
So, you know, Zero Senior probably just Besides, there was something Sigma mentioned.
What did Sigma
Have any of
mention?
you guys heard anything about any sort of?
Well, but
I have heard rumors about a virus being used as a bioweapon.
See, this conversation is the part that gets shortchanged. So, is there any way that you don't shortchange this part of the conversation?
what?
What did you say?
Whoa, Alice, what the hell?
As much
Explain.
as I would love to, I'm sorry. Time's up.
Time's up. See, it's like the game is telling you directly that you made a mistake in the order of places you went. So maybe if you went to the infirmary first, you'd actually get all of the conversation. So next time I guess I get an option, I'm going to the infirmary
Hit
first.
the buttons on your bracelet.
Then we only have 5 minutes until the.
Exactly.
Super,
I'm sorry,
super
but
long
I really need more than 5 minutes to
experience here to get through from the point we started here to getting to the chromatic door.
Or would I? Who knows?
Fine. We'll deal with this later. Right now, we need to get to the elevator and head down to floor B.
There's far too many things that we end up dealing with later. Feels like, honestly, what should have happened is instead of just a memo mode where you can make 2 memos by drawing on the screen, which is just a conceit to the 3DS's abilities of having a touchscreen, feels like there should probably be a investigation path list here, and as you go down investigations and get more information, it should unlock more important pieces of information. And the secrets are almost like that, but not quite, because things we have heard don't seem to actually coordinate with any of the secrets, and they definitely aren't passwords, and they definitely aren't things in the files.
What are we going to do about Quark?
So in the case of Radical 6, when Alice says she's heard about something being used as a biovirus, there should be just like the word biovirus or bioweapon ? And that should be under the heading of Radical 6. And then if you can ever figure out how to continue that conversation, you might get an answer to that question mark.
I'll carry him.
Otherwise, there'll be other times when you would have investigation paths that would just like crossed out once you realize that they're just red herrings.
Are you sure?
I can't just leave the boy here. Besides, if we don't have Quark's bracelet, there'll be one team who can't open their secondary door. If that happens.
They'll get penalized.
Exactly.
Very well then. I will carry Quark. I will be able to move much faster than Tenmyoji.
Look, are you sure about that? Can I trust you?
Let's keep
You have
on
nothing to
jumping.
worry.
Fine.
Of course.
Keep on moving.
All right,
Keep
let's
on
go.
moving.
We're running out of time, people. Move!
I imagine the game actually wouldn't have let me skip through all of this section by jumping because of the way the flow works. So best case scenario, I could have put this in skip mode and not realize the slight changes in the story. That inherently, I think, also opens up a possibility where there could be somebody trying to play this game and doing such a poor job that they weren't paying attention, that they weren't realizing that the story was slightly changing here and there based on your 4 or 5 decisions you get to make. That somebody just goes around in circles playing it over and over again, getting very frustrated every new playthrough, trying to figure out what they're doing wrong.
Chromatic doors have opened. 5 minutes remain until chromatic doors close.
They're open. We need to hurry. Who's going to go in which door?
What are our options?
We're almost out of time. Pay attention. We've only got time to do this once.
And this time, I think green door is the only option
Just like
anyways.
before, there are only 3 possible combinations.
Because of the way this plays out. The options finally laid out for us were the following. Let's see. Clover and Sigma go with Tenmyoji, which I don't think works because Tenmyoji would never trust Sigma again. At least he says he wouldn't. And in that case, Dio would be with Phi and Luna, and Cork would be with Alice and Kay. So I think A is out. The only one that I think actually is in is option C. Option B would be Sigma and Clover go with Dio and go through the red door, which we don't trust Dio. Q? Who's Q? Quark. Yeah, sorry. Man, I feel like I'm getting Radical 6 at this point. Cork and Phi and Luna would be going through the blue door, and Tenmyoji and Alice and Kay would be going through the green door. In option B, it would force both Tenmyoji and Alice, I believe, to ally because they both have only 1 point and wouldn't want to kill someone else. But somebody somewhere I think is going to have a problem with that. Probably Dio. And then option C would be Sigma, Clover, and Quark go through the green door. And then Tenmyoji, Luna, and Phi go through the red door. And Dio, Kay, and Alice go through the blue door. And I think that's going to end up being the only option. If it isn't, then there's no way to get through the green door, seemingly. Or the way to get through the green door is very, very different. And there's a very early to be continued point here. Luna and Phi, blah, blah, blah. So let's see what people have to say about that. So how are we going to do this?
Go with Sigma.
Yeah, he won't go with Sigma.
Betrayed me last time.
obviously. What about Phi?
Button, right, Sigma?
Well, yes.
I don't want to go with Dio.
Yeah. Alice doesn't want to go with
Same
Dio.
reason. I can't trust that he won't betray me again.
You can pretty much trust he will.
Thanks a lot, Quark. You've single-handedly torpedoed my reputation.
Well, that leaves us with option B.
What?
No. We can't do option B.
Why not?
Sorry, Luna, but I can't trust you or Phi either.
He can't trust. So, wait a minute. Well, wouldn't he? So he's saying he can't trust Luna and Phi with Cork. So option C would still have him trusting, having to trust Luna and Phi to work together.
The way he is right now, someone's going to have to carry Quark.
Oh, so his argument here is he doesn't think Luna or Phi can carry the child, which I don't think I fully buy into that. Luna seems to be probably in her late 20s, early 30s. I think she could carry a child just fine. I think even Phi, being like 20, 22, however old she said, could carry a child just fine.
I just can't afford to give him to someone I don't trust.
I thought you trusted Phi.
Not enough for this.
Then what do you intend to do?
Cork shifted silently into NK's arms.
Quark is a solo, as are you, Tenryuchi. Solos can't pair with one another. You do remember that.
Yeah, of course I do. I didn't say there wasn't anyone I trusted. There's one person.
Who do you trust then?
Clover.
What?
Yeah, Clover's younger than Phi and Luna.
Me?
Why is he gonna trust her?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Why?
I can't tell you.
I have no idea why he would trust her.
I just know that you'll keep him safe.
Well, that's nice of you to say, but my partner is Sigma. Are you sure you want me to take him?
It's fine. Clover, you just vote by yourself. Make Sigma wait outside the AB room.
No.
Are we all just gonna die because we don't go through the chromatic doors at this rate?
If Clover takes Quark, then we have to go with option C, right?
Clover takes Cork, they have to go with option C.
That means I'll be stuck with Dio. There's no way in hell I'm going to let that happen.
Who do you want to pair up with then?
Isn't it obvious? Quark. Remember what the announcement said? Something about how the system will automatically vote ally for anyone who doesn't enter their own vote in time? If Quark doesn't wake up by then.
No! This is exactly why I can't trust any of you.
1 minute remains
Yeah.
until
This is an interesting end potentially to this path. Like we literally may just hit a to be continued before we even can get through the green door.
We don't have time to argue this. Let's take a vote. Those opposed to C?
And there was a vote in the first game that cheated, got cheated, and I'm kind of glad to see that most of the choices in this game are not votes. Alison Dio's hand went up.
What? Why don't you want C, Dio?
Well, if she's got that much of a hate on for me, that hardly plays into my hands, does it?
Fine, whatever. I assume anyone who didn't raise their hand is all right with option C then?
So they just get outvoted. No one objected. I kept my mouth shut too. Just as Alice had said, there was an excellent chance Cork would default to ally. If that happened, he'd make a great opponent. If I choose ally, of course, but it would be good to not have to worry about him choosing betray.
All right. 6-2 in favor.
Wait, what about me?
Stay here if you don't like it. I imagine your partner might have something to say about that, though.
Kay handed Cork to me gently, and then crossed his arms and turned to face Alice. His jaw clenched as she stared up at him, and I could see the gears turning inside her head.
Fine.
10 seconds remain until chromatic doors close.
Hurry, Clover, the door is closing.
Right.
Hey, take care of Quark.
Don't worry about it. So this is the first time I guess we get to take Cork in the second group. And I think probably the first time we've had Cork in any of the escape rooms anyways. I get a good grip on Cork, nodded to Tin Miyoji, and took off for the door. Our feet slapped against the metal floor as we ran. The empty voice of the announcer echoed in my ears.
2, 1, 0.
And see, in that case, it counted down to 0 again. So, but if the announcer was counting down and every time it said 0, that was because 0 was in your party. And we would assume 0 Senior is either Clover or Quark. The announcer would not be able to count down to 0 for any of the other groups. Although, that is totally possible that the speakers in one room are saying something different than what the speakers in a different room would be saying.
Chromatic doors closing.
It'd be fairly easy to pull that trick off with the right technology. There are ways to make speakers only audible under a certain area. Huh? Is this a dead end?
There are 3 doors here.
And I assume we're going through the center door this time, and we want to see who opens it.
But it looks like they're all locked.
Whether it's Clover or whether it's Quark. What's this thing? It's got a lever on it.
Can you pull the lever?
Come on, my hands are kind of full right now.
Yeah. I can take Quark then.
You really don't want to touch that thing, do you?
I mean, look at it. It looks suspicious. Like I'm gonna touch it and whoosh, a bunch of poison needles fly out of the wall. Maybe if I had like a piece of wood to move it with or something.
I think you might be a little paranoid.
You do it.
Fine. I shift Quark over to one shoulder and flip the switch with my free hand. Well, in this case, then, is that the door on the right? Or are we actually making it to the treatment center? Because the treatment center is different than where we went before. See? No needles. Everything's fine.
Now, only one of the doors opened.
Did you see the plaque on the door before it opened? I think it said something like treatment center.
Do you think that's some kind of medical thing?
First an infirmary, now this. Why do I keep ending up in these places? I glanced over at Quark asleep on my shoulder. Hey, you know what? We may have lucked out.
Huh? What do you mean?
Well, if this is where they treat people, maybe they've got something that can cure Quark.
Oh, yeah.
Let's head on in.
Okay.
And in that case, they don't tell you whether that was the left or the right or the center room. And they don't visually show it to you either. So they're just leaving you hanging. What are those?
It says on the side, treatment pod.
So I guess it treats people. Maybe it can help Cork. The door's locked. So somebody had to open it first. Let's take a look around. Maybe something in here will tell us how to unlock this door.
Okay.
Clover nodded and bounced off to examine the room. I lay Cork down on just outside the door to treat to the treatment center. Well, there's a sofa over there you could have put him on. Clover might have been overly paranoid about the lever, but there's no harm in being cautious. Hang on there, little guy. We'll get you fixed up soon. Ruffled his hair gently, then turned it and headed back into the room. Had some investigating to do. Seek a way out. Okay. That took an incredibly long time. And then when we have to recursively rewind after these next two branching paths, which we probably will get through in the next recording, at that point we have the branch that will finally take us to the first of the first chromatic doors, and then we've got a lot more branching paths. So I'm thinking minimum 2 or 3 more hours before we've even done all of the branching paths. At that point, I suspect there's probably 3 to 6 more hours minimum to then rewind to certain points and get past the to be continued sections. See, that one is labeled very differently, and it's opened. So I think I probably do have the solution to that at this point. Is there proof it wasn't murder? I think I may have proof now where I could prove it wasn't murder, in the sense that I could say, well, so Radical 6 makes you suicidal. I would assume that's the proof, at least. And let's go ahead and save. And then that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and get me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.